David.
Thank you. Can I also add my welcome to the Ambassador, and I hope we do have a long and fruitful relationship. I think firstly, though, I have to say to the Ambassador, he said he had been a trade negotiator for a long, long time and involved in trade issues for a long, long time. I think he has to grasp that the situation has changed in terms of trade negotiations. It's 10 years ago, and I've also been involved in trade for a long time. Most trade deals were done behind closed doors. There was very little public interest in them, and maybe to the shame of this Parliament, very little political scrutiny of trade deals until they were actually concluded. The situation has changed, and trade deals are now being monitored much more closely. And I'm afraid he will have to get used to the fact that we are going to pick on every item by item and scrutinise it to see what impact it's going to have on our voters and on our constituents. Now, it's a nice debating point to compare chlorinated chicken to the situation in Ukraine, but the fact is trade deals are about these nitty-gritty issues, and whatever the scientific evidence says, there are many Europeans who don't want chlorinated chicken coming to Europe. There are many Europeans who don't want GMOs in Europe. There are trade unionists who legitimately believe that the health services that they value could be threatened by TTIP. It's up to us not just to dismiss that as a myth or a scare story, but to actually explain why, if they're not going to be threatened, they're not going to be threatened. Similarly with workers' rights. Again, it may be absolutely right that TTIP will not impact on workers' rights, but we have to explain why it will not impact on workers' rights. On investor-state dispute, I'm afraid I disagree with the Ambassador. I think he's being far too dismissive of concerns about investor-state dispute. It clearly has enhanced corporate power, and it's the fact we do have 1,400 bilateral investment treaties in existence that raises the concerns about expanding investor-state dispute, because some of those 1,400 have cost governments significant sums of money, have impacted on public policy development, and so we cannot just say, oh, we already have investor-state disputes, so it's not a problem. The reason we know it's a problem is because of the existing agreements. So I have made it very clear in the past, I want TTIP. I agree with the Ambassador that a good TTIP is good for both our economies. I've also said very clearly in this committee and in the plenary that I will judge TTIP at the end of the day, not on what might come out of it. But equally, I think the negotiators have a duty to listen to the concerns that the politicians, the public and the unions and the NGOs are putting forward to make sure that our concerns are not in that final agreement and that they are taken account of as we go through the process.